everyone. My name is Rees, and I am a local trans non-binary queer artist. I received both my graduate and undergraduate degrees from Southeastern Louisiana University in Hammond, and during that time, independently released several personal non-academic literary projects. I'm very much a creative hermit, so the fact that I'm here today at this public event shows the true gravity of the nonsense that abounds. I am here on behalf of both of myself and the queer community to give testimony to the detrimental nature of the anti-trans legislative attacks that we are facing. I'm here to bear witness to my experiences of the anti-queer efforts of those in St. Tammany Parish and the harmful influence of these powers overall. I am one of those grown-up kids that was the victim of abuse here, like right down the street, you know? So this hits close to home, and I usually hide behind a guitar, so if you see me shaking like a leaf, I'm just gonna roll with it. My formative years spent here in St. Tammany Parish as a young queer were an awful experience. I was born on the South Shore and exiled to the North Shore in my early childhood. I survived many years of emotional and physical abuse at the hands of ultra-conservative religious bigots in the Mandeville, Madisonville, and Covington areas, from early childhood into adulthood, and have remained private about my experiences with the trauma until now. But enough is enough. The anti-queer legislation being introduced is a direct attack on me, both personally and professionally, in addition to being an attack on my beloved community as a whole. I am an experienced creator with several publications out. As a trans non-binary writer facing anti-trans legislation involving book bans, what does this mean for me? Does this mean the library will no longer be able to display my writing collections in public view because I am trans? Because a few radical bigots in the parish are having adult temper tantrums about the fact that other people exist? Imagine being so self-absorbed that you actually believe your world is the world. To the anti-queer bigots of St. Tammany and to bigots everywhere, the fact that your political and legal tactics and multiphobic mind games haven't changed in over 60 years not only shows your overall lack of imagination, it's just outright embarrassing. Imagine being a hater for life. Yikes. I was recently reminded by one of my brilliant mentors of why our queerness is threatening to people. Sorry, y'all. My hands don't really work lately. I got diagnosed with lupus recently. That was convenient. Thanks, man. And, we're rolling with it. Our queerness threatens those people who are empowered by systems that repress our humanity. Our queerness terrifies those who have bought into ideologies of right and wrong, those who constantly deny themselves in order to be perceived as good. The truth of history tells us that those who have power in systems of oppression will do anything to maintain said power. They are threatened by our queerness because it represents the antithesis of rigid, fragile systems of oppression. Our queerness is the fresh breath of possibility. Our queerness is us living life on our own terms, fully autonomous in our choice of how we move through the world. Our queerness is authenticity incarnate. Our queerness is glory of intimately knowing the pleasure of being alive. Our queerness is a daily celebration. So let me be crystal clear. We're here, we are queer, and we're not going anywhere. We exist. There's no debate on existing. I'm here. Like, you already lost. We will not be silenced. Our books will be proudly displayed in libraries. Our kids will walk proudly amongst their peers in schools. Our art will hang proudly in the hallways of public spaces. And our voices will proudly share our experiences. We will not go back to the way it was before. We will not return to silence. I truly don't know how the lot that is attacking us decided that anyone else's body, gender identity, or sexual orientation was any of their business in the first place. Let me be direct for those of you who remain obsessively concerned with the intimate details of my life and the lives of others like me. Your ill-informed opinions of the existence of those who differ from you mean nothing. Enough is enough. You are wrong. This is wrong. And it will no longer be tolerated and supported as normal. Your hate is not the status quo. Your inability to see your fellow human beings and community members for the beautiful and authentic magic that we are is simply a testament to the overall lack in you. Your hate is the most accurate reflection of the hollow you contain. Are you not exhausted by yourself? Ew. In all seriousness, I ask you, how bothered do you have to be as a person to legislatively attack complete strangers? Why is it so difficult for you all to literally just mind your own business? Is it miserable insecurity that makes the thought of others being happy and their authenticity unbearable to you, or do you just get off on losing sleep over the thought of trans people existing? Honestly, your obsession with us is kind of creepy. People who live fulfilling lives aren't concerned with drafting legislation to hurt complete strangers in their communities. Just saying, truly happy people generally aren't the type to be hyper-focused on controlling others. It's no secret that misery loves company. In fact, it's cliche. I keep wondering if there's always... Hey, have a wonderful day, sir. Love you. I wonder if this is what it all really boils down to, your misery needing company. What's most bewildering to me is the extent to which you are all too blinded by your biases to see that the cishet culture here in St. Tammany Parish and across the South as a whole is one of deeply traumatized pain. Your normal is absolute insanity. Truly. I survived it. I can say that. This kind of misery is undeniable. I look at you and all I see is repeated cycles of hurt. Generational manifestations of the emotional wounds that have painfully shaped your gnarled hearts. This hurt then becomes weaponized into hate. Hate for the self, hate for others, complete strangers, on account of imagined difference. To make matters worse, your hate twists the words of all and any who challenge you into unrecognizable arguments that end up nothing more than convoluted nonsense. To avoid accountability, you disciples of willful ignorance validate your toxic and harmful behaviors by surrounding yourselves with the weak-minded and weak-spirited who condone this awful behavior instead of challenging it. The most disgusting part of all of it is how ruthlessly you come after kids and families and individuals who have done nothing to deserve these kinds of attacks. The most infuriating aspect of this willful ignorance is the blatant lie of the false rhetoric surrounding these kinds of radical anti-queer legislations. You charade these actions in the name of protecting the children by specifically targeting the LGBT plus community with legislation that seeks to falsely condemn us as groomers while turning a blind eye to the real threat from the predators in your churches, sporting associations, and extended family. Don't take my word for it, listen to the numbers. Since 1950, over 300,000 children have been sexually abused by the Catholic Church. Where's your outrage? Oh yeah, hyper-focused on the trans kids. Let's be real, if this was actually about protecting kids, the Catholic Church would have been dismantled decades ago. So come off the crap, admit this has nothing to do with protecting the kids. You are in fact targeting kids with these hateful legislative moves. And so I ask you now, are only the white cis-het kids worth protecting to y'all? Because that's exactly what these bills are saying. And since this is not for my Christians who actually know what Jesus was about, this is for those who are actually Paulians and have no idea because they haven't done the homework. Since I know many of you would self-identify as Christian, I ask you now, what would Jesus do? Literally, the dude's entire life message is love your neighbor. These bills are the exact opposite of that message. To quote one of my buddies, most of y'all don't even Jesus the way Jesus would want you to Jesus. Seriously, let's be real here. What is the end game? The truth of history tells us that those who ban books don't stop at silencing only written word. The truth of history tells us that these kinds of narrative bans are the gateways to an all-out ambush on other. This dehumanizing ambush has only one goal, the total annihilation of those others. The voices whose stories are printed on the very pages you currently fight to ban. You want to ban books that are harmful to children? Start with the Bible. If what you believe is fundamentally at its core focused on the repression and control of others, you are faithless. If your faith is more concerned with what others are doing with their lives, you are faithless. That is not faith at all. If this hyper-focus on others in the name of belief blinds you to the ways your own choices actively harm and add suffering to the world, it is time to reassess your entire belief structure. I implore and challenge you to be open to the transformational power of critical thinking. I know accountability feels like an attack when you aren't ready to admit how your actions affect others. I and many others are living proof that it is never too late to change. What has been learned through indoctrination and shame can always be unlearned through healing and love. Growth is always an option. Always. You just have to choose it. Like many other queers I know, I for one have come too damn far as a human in my efforts of personal growth and healing to have my abundant life and brilliant character put on trial by this kind of hateful legislation on account of the lack that exists in you. The lack in you is no match for the abundance in me. The lack in you will never match the abundance in me and those like me. Our very essence is a fireproof message of love. So to all those bound by the limitations of their willful ignorance, hate, fear, shame, and indoctrination, I see you. I was once one just like you. However, I learned better to do better. Your willful ignorance is truly the only unforgivable sin. While I don't understand you, I still love you and hope for one day, for your own sake, in addition to the sake of the greater good, you can grow into a better human. This is a fireproof message of love. To all my queer family, friends, and those allies who actively stand alongside us in thought, word, and deed, I see you. I am you. I love you. Our abundance abounds forever. We will never go back to the closets they built for us. We will never return to the shadows that held us captive for so long. We dance and sing free in the light, now and forever. This is a fireproof message of love. Peace be with you all. May we all find the courage we need to grow into better beings and find the healing we need for a way forward together. This is the Fireproof.